Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to look at could Canada join the EU, the European Union. Yeah, this video should be interesting. I really would like to see what this video has to say. I believe they can join the European Union for sure, and I believe that's what if America wants to play hardball, try to bully Canada, I believe that Canada should go to the EU for real. You know, instead what I personally think we should do is get along. You know what I mean? Trump shouldn't try to be a dictator. He should just let them do their thing. You know, the trade wars are the trade wars. Let's come to a reasonable solution. But things doesn't seem like it's playing out like that. So let's go watch this video. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section. Now, a few videos that I've been doing involving Canada, a lot of you guys, not a lot, a few of you guys like to try to come and attack me in the comment section. I don't know why. I'm trying to, you know, I want a friendly resolution. I know I'm American, but guys, come on, man. Y'all got to do better, man. Don't come for the American just because he's American, man. I'm not Trump, guys. Take your anger out on Trump, Donald Chump. Okay. Anyway, let's get into this video.
Economist published an article titled "Why Canada Should Join the EU." At the time, the piece was widely ridiculed and touted as proof of The Economist's declining quality and credibility. However, a couple of months on, and the article no longer looks quite so ridiculous. In fact, it looks sort of prescient. As Trump's threats of tariffs and annexation against America's northern neighbour have escalated, Canadians have apparently started looking to the EU as a backup bestie, and a poll conducted by Abacus Data in late February found that an astonishing 44% plurality of Canadians thought Canada should join the EU, compared to just 34% who thought Canada shouldn't. To be fair, Canada and the EU are already pretty chummy. Canada has a free trade agreement with the EU, it's an observer state in the Council of Europe, and it's a founding member of NATO, which has long been the foundation of Europe's security.
But also, America is too. Hold on, let's look at something real quick.
It's an observer state in the Council of Europe, and
so it's an observer state. Let's look at the observer states. You have America over there as well. This is crazy. Man, Donald Trump, bro, I don't know why you're doing what you're doing. For sure. He probably could say, yeah, you're going to be the 51st state. But you won't, if they're the 51st state, you will not well, it is his last term anyway, but that's crazy, man. Man. Should have never voted for this dude, man. I didn't vote for him, but I'm just saying Americans didn't. Man, a lot of them voted for him and regretted. Y'all know he's not a politician. Man, come on, guys.
It's a founding member of NATO, which has long been the foundation of Europe's security. On top of this, Canada's new Prime Minister, Mark Carney, who now looks likely to win the next election, went to France for his first foreign trip, where he described Canada as, quote, the most European of non-European countries, and argued that Canada and Europe are stronger together. So in this video, we thought we'd take a look at whether Canada could actually become the 28th member state of the European Union. Never miss a major news story by listening to the Daily Briefing, TLDR's daily rundown of everything you need to know. Listen along in your favourite podcast app or by clicking the link in the description. So let's get straight into it. The short answer to this question is no. Canada won't be joining the EU anytime soon. Now, you might think that this is simply down to geography. After all, Article 49 of the EU's founding treaty states that only European states can apply for membership. And Canada isn't obviously European. But we don't think this is actually disqualifying. For starters, Article 49 doesn't define what it means by European, and this is obviously a contested concept. The EU's predecessor, the European Community, tried to answer this question more precisely in a 1992 document titled Europe and the Challenge of Enlargement. But they basically concluded that a strict definition was impossible, admitting that the term European, quote, combines geographical, historical and cultural elements, and that it is neither possible nor opportune to establish now the frontiers of the European Union, whose contours will be shaped over many years to come. Culturally, Canada has pretty European vibes. It's a European-style social democracy, with a well-developed welfare state and deep historical links to both France and the UK. The geographical definition of Europe is also clearly elastic. After all, Cyprus is geographically closer to West Asia than continental Europe, and Malta is geographically closer to North Africa. Turkey is also generally considered a mostly West Asian country, but it's nonetheless an official EU candidate country, and Algeria, which is obviously in Africa, not Europe, was included in the European Economic Community until its independence from France in 1962.
I see. So that the location should not be, that shouldn't be a factor in choosing if they join the EU or not. That should not be the factor. What did they say? Hold on. I got to see the Algeria part again.
Candidate country, and Algeria, which is obviously in Africa, not Europe, was included in the European Economic Community until its independence from France in 1962. It's also true to say that Canada shares a close sea border with the EU via Saint-Pierre-et-Miquelon, a French territory off the coast of Newfoundland, and a land border with the territory of an EU member state via Greenland. Although we should say that Greenland isn't actually part of the EU. Canada and Denmark actually used to have a hilariously amicable border dispute over a tiny island called Hans Island, which sits in between the Canadian territory of Nunavut and northern Greenland. In 1984, Canadian soldiers briefly visited the island, leaving a Canadian flag and a bottle of Canadian whiskey. Later that year, Danish officials responded by replacing the Canadian...
Is Crown Royal Canadian whiskey? Hold on, let me see that. Yeah, that's Canadian whiskey. I did not know that. Guys, I did not know Crown Royal was Canadian whiskey. Man, Trump, a lot of American drinks. You better stop that dumb stuff, man. Man, for real. Damn, I didn't know that.
Canadian flag with a Danish flag and the whiskey with a bottle of Danish schnapps. The two countries continued this dance, known as the Whiskey War, for 40 years, intermittently exchanging their national flags and boozes. This lasted until 2022, when, in the aftermath of Putin's invasion of Ukraine, they divided the island in two, intended as a symbolic proof that border disputes can be resolved peacefully. Nonetheless, even if Article 49 doesn't necessarily prohibit Canada from joining, it's still not going to happen, for the same reason that even well-established candidate countries are struggling to get into the bloc at the moment. Accession requires unanimity amongst other member states, which is hard to imagine, and much of the EU is currently suffering from what's known as enlargement fatigue. In other words, the EU has spent all of its political energy in recent years bringing new countries into the bloc, but there's now a sense that A, the EU currently needs to focus on other stuff like guaranteeing Ukraine's security without American support, and B, the EU needs reform before it brings other members into the bloc. It's already difficult to achieve unanimity amongst current member states. Hungary is constantly vetoing, and lots of countries think the EU either needs to slim down...
He put his arm kind of hard, huh? It looked like the Hungary, who's that, the president of Hungary? Looks like he's wanting to cry. He wants to cry. Looked like he's crying.
Unanimity amongst current member states. Hungary is constantly vetoing, and lots of countries think the EU...
Why he pull his arm so hard, man? Come on, man. What's up, Macron? Emmanuel Macron.
EU either needs to slim down or reform its voting rules to become more geopolitically agile. Nonetheless, we think there's one big caveat here, and that is that you could imagine Canada joining the outer tier of some sort of multi-speed EU. This idea of a multi-speed EU with different tiers of membership has been around for a while, and French President Emmanuel Macron was actually pushing for the idea of a 4-tier Europe in late 2023 to deal with the EU's ongoing institutional problems. After all, if obstructionist members
here.
like Hungary were in some...
Hold on, let's look at this here. This is my question. And I think it's a pretty good question. Well, I hope it's a pretty good question. So, Canada is a full independent political country, but they are still under the monarchy of the UK. Back in, when was it, 2015 or 16? When was Brexit? When the UK got from underneath the European Union? Back in 2015 or 16? One of the two. But if the UK is not in the European Union, how could they still allow Canada to join? Because Canada is under the British monarchy. Tell me how that works. You know, I'm trying to learn, guys.
Sort of outer tier, they could haggle over less central issues, while a better integrated European core could get on with things. Anyway, Macron's idea sort of died off, largely because substantial reform to the EU's institutional arrangement would require treaty change, which would in turn require unanimity. And it's hard to see every member state agreeing to this plan if they know they might end up with less influence in a tiered Europe than they have at the moment. However, there are reasons to think a tiered Europe might be on the way, largely because the EU is increasingly reliant on joint borrowing, i.e. debt issued at the EU level. This first happened during COVID, and the EU already owes some €300 billion to creditors, but it's been restarted to aid Europe's rearmament. This is essentially because few European countries have the fiscal space to afford steep increases in defence spending without politically difficult cuts elsewhere, and the EU can borrow at pretty cheap rates. The reason we think this could lead to a tiered Europe is that this money will eventually need to be paid back, presumably via direct taxes levied by the EU. Given it's hard to imagine member states agreeing to an enormous increase in national contributions, and giving Brussels the right to tax is probably the only way to maintain the EU's exceptional credit rating. This will probably create a core of countries who are happy to join in a European fiscal union, and an outer shell who aren't, and who would then be excluded from future joint borrowing initiatives. Canada might qualify for this outer core, and well, this could be a pretty good deal. After all, Canada is a big, empty, mineral-rich country, while Europe is densely populated and mineral-poor. At TLDR News, we're always trying to help you learn more about the world around you. Luckily for us, our sponsor this week, Brilliant, shares this same commitment, with thousands of lessons in maths, science, programming, and AI. And not only that, their interactive lessons teach you by doing, instead of just asking you to mindlessly memorize stuff. This helps you build your critical thinking skills and become a better thinker. For instance, Brilliant's newly updated maths courses help you establish a strong foundation in algebra. Then helps you build on this, teaching you how to conquer calculus, all while maintaining an emphasis on problem solving and reasoning. The thing I like best about this, though, is that their mathematical courses help you develop your mathematical intuition and fluency, skills that you can use in the real world. As we've told you before, data skills are absolutely necessary for navigating the modern world, and Brilliant...
Oh, bro, this is the end of the video. I'm not about to listen to this. But I have another question. So he's talking about having certain level of tiers for the countries that's in the EU. If we are talking about equality, that's not going to be... A lot of countries are not going to agree, just like he said in this video. But if the smaller countries are not contributing as much as the larger countries that's in the EU, or the countries that's giving the most money or providing the most, you know what I mean? Then there should be kind of a structure. And, you know, you're not going to let well, the things have to be equal. But I was thinking of like, you're not going to let a smaller country that's their country is not doing very well financially or economically. You're not going to let them make decisions that can affect what's going on with your country if your country is thriving. You know what I mean? But they should make decisions based on trying to uplift the other countries and help the other countries as much as possible as well. But in a tiered system, yeah, that's tough. But Canada, on the outside of the tiered system, that's tough, man, because Canada has a booming economy, and they should. For me, they should. If they have a tiered system, they should be in the top tier. For me, let me know what you guys think. The Canadians, what do y'all think, man? Or the guys in the European Union, what do you guys think, man? Let me know. That's the video. I learned something here, and I like that. If you have any more videos you want me to react to or look at, just let me know in the comment section. I'm here. You already know. See you in the next video, guys.